My best friend's mom was recently divorced and completely off limits. But what she whispered in my ear at the graduation party made me question everything I thought I knew about attraction. Welcome to Secret Stories, where hidden confessions and forbidden moments come to life. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to join our community of secret keepers. My name is Ethan, and I'm 22 years old. I work as a marketing coordinator at a small digital agency in Phoenix, and I've always considered myself pretty straightforward when it comes to relationships and attraction. I know what I like, I know what I want, and I've never been the type to complicate things unnecessarily. That certainty about myself lasted until 3 months ago when Sophia Black whispered something in my ear that turned my entire world upside down. Sophia is my best friend David's mother. She's 47 years old with platinum blonde hair that always looks perfectly styled, bright blue eyes, and the kind of timeless beauty that makes you understand why some women only get more attractive as they age. She's always been kind to me, welcoming me into their home since David and I became friends in our freshman year of college. But she was always just David's mom. Someone I respected, someone I was polite to, someone who existed in a completely different category from any woman I would ever think about romantically. David and I have been best friends for 4 years now. We met during orientation week at Arizona State, bonded over our shared love of terrible action movies and our complete inability to understand organic chemistry, and became the kind of friends who know everything about each other's lives. He's been there through my worst breakups, my job search stress, my family drama, and I've been there through his parents' messy divorce, his struggles with choosing a career path, and his own relationship complications. The divorce was particularly difficult for David. His parents had been married for 25 years, and while David always said they'd grown apart over the years, the actual separation was still painful and messy. His father moved across the country for a new job and a new life, leaving Sophia to rebuild everything on her own at 47. David worried constantly about his mother during that period, whether she was lonely, whether she was managing financially, whether she would ever be happy again. I got to see Sophia during this transition period because I was at their house constantly. David and I would study there, watch movies there, and I'd often stay for dinner because Sophia insisted on cooking for us. During those months, I watched her transform from a woman who seemed defeated and uncertain into someone who was rediscovering her strength and independence. She went back to school to finish a degree she'd abandoned when David was born. She started working out and eating better. She redecorated the house to reflect her own taste rather than the compromise style she'd maintained during her marriage. Most noticeably, she became more confident, more outspoken, more willing to take up space in conversations and express her own opinions. But through all of this transformation, she remained completely off limits in my mind. She was David's mom. She was going through a divorce. She was 25 years older than me. There were about 1,000,000 reasons why any attraction I might feel would be inappropriate and impossible. That's not to say I didn't notice her. It would have been impossible not to notice how beautiful Sophia was, especially as her confidence grew and she started dressing in ways that reflected her personality rather than her role as a wife and mother. She had this way of moving that was graceful and self-assured, and when she laughed, really laughed, not just polite social laughter, it lit up her entire face in a way that was genuinely captivating. But noticing someone's beauty and being attracted to them are different things, and I was very careful to keep my observations in the objective appreciation category rather than letting them become something more personal or complicated. That careful compartmentalization lasted until David's graduation party in May. David had finished his degree in business administration, and Sophia insisted on throwing him a celebration party at their house. She'd invited family, friends from college, neighbors, and several of David's coworkers from his internship. It was a big event, probably 40 people, with catered food, a full bar setup, and decorations that made it clear how proud Sophia was of her son's achievement. I'd helped with the planning and setup as I often did for events at the Black House. Sophia and I had developed an easy working relationship over the years. She'd give me tasks, I'd complete them without needing much direction, and we'd developed the kind of comfortable familiarity that comes from spending a lot of time in the same space. The party itself was exactly what David had wanted. Relaxed, fun, with good food and music that kept people entertained without being overwhelming. I spent most of the evening circulating between different groups, catching up with college friends I hadn't seen since graduation, meeting David's work colleagues, and helping Sophia with hosting duties when needed. As the evening progressed, I found myself increasingly aware of Sophia in ways I'd been avoiding for months. She looked incredible, wearing a black cocktail dress that was sophisticated but also showed off her figure in ways that were impossible to ignore. Her platinum hair was styled in soft waves, and she moved through the party with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you look good and feeling comfortable in your own skin. But more than just how she looked, I was struck by how she interacted with people. She was funny, engaging, genuinely interested in conversations with David's friends despite the age difference. Several people commented to me throughout the evening about how impressive and attractive David's mother was, and I found myself feeling oddly protective and proud, as if their appreciation of her somehow reflected well on me. Around 10:30, as the party was starting to wind down and people were beginning to leave, I stepped out onto the back patio to get some air and decompress from the social energy. The patio overlooks Sophia's garden, which she'd completely redesigned after the divorce, and the lighting she'd installed created a beautiful, intimate atmosphere. I was standing there enjoying the quiet and the cooler evening air when I heard the sliding door open behind me. "Hiding from the party?" Sophia's voice asked softly. I turned around to see her walking toward me carrying 2 glasses of wine. She'd kicked off her heels at some point and was barefoot, which somehow made her seem more approachable, more real. "Not hiding," I said, accepting the wine glass she offered. "Just taking a breather. It's been a great party. David seems really happy." "He is happy," she said, moving to stand next to me at the patio railing. "And a lot of that is because of friends like you. You've been such an important part of his college experience, Ethan. I've always been grateful for that." We stood there in comfortable silence for a few moments, sipping our wine and listening to the sounds of the party continuing inside. The conversation felt normal, familiar. The kind of brief, friendly exchange we'd had hundreds of times over the years. Then Sophia turned to face me directly, and something in her expression was different. More serious, more intense than our usual casual interactions. "Ethan," she said, her voice lower than it had been, "can I tell you something?" "Of course," I said, though something about her tone made my heart rate increase slightly. She moved closer to me, close enough that I could smell her perfume, could see the details of her makeup in the patio lighting. "I've been watching you all evening," she said quietly. "Actually, I've been watching you for months. And I need to tell you something I've been thinking about for a long time." My breath caught. This was clearly heading somewhere that felt dangerous and exciting and completely outside the bounds of any conversation we'd ever had. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She looked around quickly, confirming that we were alone on the patio, then stepped even closer to me. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of her body. Close enough that when she spoke, I could feel her breath against my ear. "I know this is wrong," she whispered, her lips so close to my ear that I could feel them barely brushing against my skin. "I know you're David's best friend. I know I'm too old for you. I know there are a million reasons why I shouldn't be saying this. But I can't stop thinking about you, Ethan. I can't stop wondering what it would be like to kiss you." The confession hit me like electricity. My entire body reacted. My heart started pounding, my skin felt suddenly hypersensitive, and every rational thought I'd ever had about appropriate boundaries completely evaporated. "Sophia ... I started to say, but I had no idea how to finish the sentence. "I know it's crazy," she continued, still speaking directly into my ear in that intimate whisper. "I know I'm probably ruining everything by telling you this, but watching you tonight, seeing how kind you are to everyone, how mature you are, how attractive you've become, I couldn't keep pretending I don't feel this." She pulled back just enough to look at my face, and I could see vulnerability in her eyes alongside the confidence of her confession. "Tell me I'm not completely insane," she said softly. "Tell me you've felt something too, even if you've been fighting it." The honest answer was that I had been fighting it for months. The honest answer was that every time I'd been in her house, every conversation we'd had, every moment when she'd smiled at me or touched my arm casually, I'd felt something that I'd immediately pushed down because it seemed impossible and inappropriate. "You're not insane," I said quietly. "I've been thinking about you too. I just never imagined someone like you would be interested in someone like me." "Someone like you?" she asked. "Young, inexperienced, still figuring my life out. You're sophisticated, beautiful, accomplished. You could have any man you wanted." She smiled at that, a real smile that reached her eyes. "Ethan, do you know what's attractive about you?" "What?" "Your kindness, your intelligence, the way you care about people, the way you've been such a loyal friend to David, the way you've always treated me with respect and consideration. Those aren't things that come with age. Those are who you are." The sincerity in her voice was overwhelming. Here was this woman I'd admired and been attracted to for months, telling me she'd been feeling the same things I'd been feeling. "But what about David?" I asked. "What about the complications?" "I don't know," she said honestly. "I don't have answers for those questions. All I know is that I've been thinking about this for months, and tonight, watching you at the party, I realized that I was going to regret not telling you more than I would regret the complications." Before I could respond, we heard voices coming from inside the house, people saying goodbye, the party officially winding down. "I should go help with cleanup," she said, but she didn't move away from me. "Sophia," I said quietly, "what happens now?" "I don't know," she said, "but I know I'm glad I told you." She leaned forward and kissed my cheek, letting her lips linger there for just a moment longer than would be appropriate for a friendly gesture. "Think about it," she whispered. "If you decide you want to explore this, call me. We'll figure out how to handle the complicated parts." Then she was walking back toward the house, leaving me standing on the patio trying to process what had just happened. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. I helped with cleanup, said goodbye to the remaining guests, and made normal conversation with David about how successful the party had been. But every interaction felt surreal, like I was performing the motions of normal life while my mind was completely focused on those few minutes on the patio with Sophia. David and I made plans to hang out later that week, and I drove home feeling like my entire understanding of my life had shifted in the space of a 10-minute conversation. For 3 days, I thought about nothing else. I replayed every moment of that conversation, analyzed every word, tried to understand what it meant and what I wanted to do about it. The attraction I felt was undeniable. The respect and admiration I had for Sophia was real. But the potential complications were enormous. David was my best friend, and I couldn't imagine how he would react to learning that I was involved with his mother. The age difference was significant, even if it didn't feel important when Sophia and I were talking. The timing was complicated. She was recently divorced, and I was just starting my career. But underneath all those rational concerns was something stronger. The certainty that what I felt for Sophia wasn't just attraction or curiosity, but a real connection that I'd never experienced with anyone else. On Thursday evening, I called her. "Ethan," she said when she answered, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "I was hoping you would call." "I've been thinking about what you said," I told her, "about what you asked me to think about. And I want to explore this," I said. "I don't know how we handle the complicated parts either, but I don't want to wonder what might have happened if we don't try." "Are you sure?" she asked. "Once we cross this line, there's no going back to the way things were before." "I'm sure," I said. "Then come over tomorrow night. David's staying at his girlfriend's place this weekend, so we'll have privacy to talk and figure out what this means." That Friday evening, I drove to the Black House with a mixture of excitement and nervousness unlike anything I'd ever experienced. This was the same house I'd been visiting for years, but everything about it felt different now. Sophia answered the door wearing jeans and a soft sweater, her hair pulled back casually, looking more relaxed and approachable than she had at the party. But when she smiled at me, there was an intimacy in it that acknowledged what had changed between us. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi," I replied. "This is strange, isn't it?" she said with a laugh. "I've been nervous all day, like I'm a teenager again." "I'm glad it's not just me," I said. She led me into the living room, where she'd opened a bottle of wine and lit several candles. The atmosphere was clearly intentional, romantic but not overwhelming, intimate but comfortable. "Before anything else happens," she said, as we sat down on the sofa. "I need to know that you understand what you're getting into. I'm not looking for a casual fling or an experiment. If we do this, I need to know that you're serious about exploring a real relationship, despite all the complications." "I am serious," I said. "I've never felt anything like what I feel for you, Sophia. It's not just attraction, though that's definitely part of it. It's everything about you. Your intelligence, your strength, your kindness, the way you make me feel when we talk." She reached over and took my hand. "I feel the same way, but we need to talk about David." That was the conversation I'd been dreading, but also the one I knew we needed to have. "How do you think he'll react?" I asked. "I don't know," she said honestly. "He might be shocked, confused, maybe even angry at first. But David loves both of us, and ultimately he wants us to be happy. It might take time, but I think he'll come around. And if he doesn't, then we'll deal with that when it happens," she said. "But Ethan, I can't make decisions about my life based on how other people might react, even people I love. I did that for too many years in my marriage." The honesty and determination in her voice was part of what made her so attractive to me. Sophia knew what she wanted and was willing to take risks for it. "So where do we start?" I asked. "We start with this," she said, moving closer to me on the sofa. When she kissed me, it was nothing like the friendly kiss on the cheek from the patio. This was soft but confident, exploring, full of months of suppressed attraction finally being allowed to become real. When we broke apart, we were both breathing harder. "Wow," I said. "Wow," she agreed, smiling. We spent that evening talking and kissing, establishing the foundation of what we wanted this relationship to be. Sophia was confident in a way that came from experience and self-knowledge, but also vulnerable in a way that made every moment feel precious and meaningful. That was 3 months ago. Sophia and I have been together since that night, navigating the complexities of our unusual situation, building something real and meaningful despite all the reasons why it seemed impossible at the beginning. The conversation with David happened 6 weeks into our relationship. It was difficult. He was shocked, confused, and needed time to process what we were telling him. But ultimately, Sophia was right about him. He loves both of us, and he wants us to be happy. It took several long conversations and some adjustment time, but he's come to accept and even support our relationship. "You know," David said to me recently, "it's weird, but you make my mom happier than I've seen her in years. And she makes you more mature and grounded than you've ever been. Maybe it's not as crazy as I thought at first." Sophia taught me that attraction and connection don't always follow conventional rules. She also taught me that age is often less important than compatibility, shared values, and genuine care for each other's well-being. We still get stares sometimes when we're out together, and I know some people make assumptions about our relationship, but we've learned not to care about strangers' opinions. What we have is real, meaningful, and built on mutual respect and genuine affection. That whispered confession on the patio changed my entire life. What started as my best friend's off-limits mom became the most important relationship I've ever had. Sometimes, the most meaningful connections develop in the most unexpected ways, with the most unlikely people in moments when you're brave enough to admit what you've been feeling. Sophia was right about one thing. Once we crossed that line, there was no going back to the way things were before. And I wouldn't want to go back even if we could. If you have similar secrets or unexpected connections, share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Secret Stories for more intimate confessions and hidden moments. Thanks for watching.